and Saram Ajit Mangala for the kind invitation. I now request Speaker to take over.
Offering our prayerful salutations to our dear Lord. I'm overwhelmed by this invitation by Kannan sir to come and speak here, because basically I'm not a speaker, I'm a doer, and that's what I believe in. And I always believe that your work should talk, not the other way around. And it has been a journey from 1961, when my parents brought us to Puttaparthi, from then till date. And it's been a journey, joyful journey for all of us. Respected elders and my dear fellow travelers on the universal path of Sri Satya Sai. You must be wondering why I am saying fellow travelers on the Sri Satya Sai path. First of all, my Pranam is the Sai in all of you. The reason why I said this is that all of us have been associated with the name Sri Satya Sai. And association with the name Sri Satya Sai is not of our choice. It is His choice. It is His blessing to us. We have, if you had asked us some years back, we would not have known who is Sri Satya Sai. But today, all of us are here because we are associated with His name, and that is a blessing for us. I prepared a kind of a talk after Kannan sir spoke to me, because I had not spoken earlier. So I thought, okay, let me prepare something. But after coming here, and actually after seeing Swami over there, I think my talk can be a dampener, because you see God and then you see a person talking about God. That can be a dampener actually. So basically, I will tell you one incident which happened in 1985, in Swami's 60th birthday. And by Swami's blessings, I was able to sing bhajans in the mandir and play tabla, and also lead the Nagar Sangeetam in Prashanti Nilayam. And on the 23rd of November 1985, suddenly, when we finished the Nagar Sangeeta at the Ganesha temple, and we were standing there, suddenly a person came in front of me and started crying. Now, I was a bit shocked to see him crying early in the morning, and that too on Swami's birthday, and today is Swami's birthday. And I narrate this because it's a very, very significant thing that that person told us on that day. So what he said was, you people are very, very blessed. You are very lucky that you are here in the presence of God. So I was perplexed because there was no context to the talk. And I was standing, he said, do you have a few minutes? Can you listen to me? And I said, okay. So I stood there and was listening to what he was saying. He said that I live in Bombay and I have been a devotee of Swami. I have seen Swami in Dharmakshetra for the last 20 years. But I was not able to come to Puttaparthi till date. It took me 20 long years to come here and come to this holy place. So I was listening. I said, okay, sir. So he said, you know what happened? 3 times I tried to come here. He said, first time when he wanted to come, he could not get the ticket to come. And second time, he did not get the leave. Third time when he wanted to come, he did not have money to come. So he was praying to Swami, Swami, I want to come to Prashanti Nilayam. Why are you not allowing me to come to Prashanti Nilayam? Once he said, 4th time, actually he was crying, so he was so emotional that he was not able to speak. So I had to wait for him to cool down and then talk. And he said, fourth time, I got my leave, I got the ticket, I got the money, I got the reservation, everything was done, and I boarded the train at the other station. And then he said, it was the train was starting around 6 o'clock, and he said, I thought, okay, this is the final day, now I am going to reach Prashanti. That's what he thought. The train started moving. It was just moving off. And suddenly his colleague comes down running on the platform. He knew which compartment this person was. He says, get down. Boss has told you got urgent work, so you have to get down. So he says, I was thinking, Swami, you gave me everything, and this last moment something has come up which again you are willing that I should not come. And he started crying. He said, he had heard a lot of Swami's discourses when he had come to Dharmakshetra. He said that Swami says, not even the blade of grass moves without my will. And today I realize the value of that not even I couldn't come here because he didn't will it. And I'm here today because he has willed it. And I have come only for 2 days. I got 2 days leave, I come here. I feel so blessed to be here. Why I'm narrating this is that all of us who are associated with the name of the Lord are here because of His will and not because of our will. One more incident I would like to share with you. I had planned something else, but now I want to share experiences because I see a lot of elders over here, and I think there is a lot of nostalgia related to Swami. So I would share that. You know, in 1961, when my parents, I was a small kid, and they were Shirdi Baba devotees, and the first time they went to Chennai, and that time Swami was staying in somebody's house. And I read this because my mother has noted down some things, and I was going through all those things just to, refresh my mind. And they went to the house, and Swami was not very well known that time, so they heard about him and they went to the address. And the devotee's house, when they went, they said, Swami is now retired. So the door was closed, whichever room Swami was staying, and the door was closed. And but my aunt and my mother decided to wait there. They said, no, there is no chance of Swami coming out now. You can leave. And then suddenly, after a few minutes, Swami opens the door, and straight comes to my mother and aunt. And I was a small baby, and Swami comes and blesses them with vibhuti, and me also. And my mother puts me on his feet there. And that's the way our journey with Swami started. Okay. Now, going forward, we used to go to Puttaparthi almost every year because my father was in railway, he was an engineer. He used to get railway passes, so he used to get family passes, 6, 7. So my mother used to be always wanting to go to Puttaparthi. And every time there was a holiday or some occasion, we would land up in Puttaparthi. And that time going to Puttaparthi was not so easy as it is today. I remember that we used to enjoy it basically because Swami used to, whenever we went there, we used to stay under the tree where Purvanth Hall, now the main gate is, Gopuram gate is there. There was a tree, and we used to stay under the tree over there, and we used to carry almost everything. Cooking vessels, you have whatever you want, bed, everything we used to carry. And Swami used to actually watch us from the balcony, all the devotees, whoever was there. And wherever today the senior devotees and elders are sitting, we used to go and sit over there. We used to enjoy it because we used to come up to Penukonda. From Penukonda, we used to take a bus to Bukkapatnam. From Bukkapatnam, Bullock cart. And the Bullock cart journey was the most enjoyable for us because what used to happen is whenever we were on the Bullock cart, the children were put on the Bullock cart along with the luggages. And what used to happen is whenever we came near the Chitravati river, the river was so clear, my God. We really used to love being in the river. So we used to say, okay, now next 5 days or 6 days when we are going to stay there, we can go and enjoy in Chitravati river. So that's what our this thing, because we never realized the what was Swami at that point in time. And that's how we used to go every time. And whenever we went, my parents used to, Swami used to call them for interview. I don't know what all transpired during that period. But I'll share one incident in whenever Swami used to call, I remember a few things in my memory, that a couple of times, whenever my mother spoke to Swami in the interview room, Swami would always, we were four of us, myself and my three sisters. Now I got a brother also after that, after a few years, so we are five of us now. So my mother used to, whenever we went inside the interview room, Swami used to, my mother used to say, Swami, what about these children? Swami said, how he used to hold us, two of us on one side of his, and two of my other sisters on the other side, and he used to say, these are my children. He used to hold us like this, it seems. That I remember that because I recall when I was reading what my mother has written, I recall that Swami used to hold like this and say, these are my children. And till date, because of this blessing, that we are still connected with him. I might get a bit emotional because talking about Swami is too much of emotion for me. And so in 1971, my mother had requested Swami to do my Upanayana. Okay, and Swami said, yeah, I'll do it. So 1971, what happened? One of my aunts was to get married, and she was not marrying a person who was a Swami devotee, but they agreed to come down to Puttaparthi. And I was there, and we were called for interview. All of us went inside. Then my grandmother was there, my grandfather was there, and my mother's parents were there. So all of us went inside the interview room. Then my Swami said, okay, what do you want? Then my mother said, Swami, you told you will do his Upanayana. So Swami said, yeah, I'll do it. Then my grandparents told Swami, you will do, you said you will do the marriage of our daughter, so that we want to request you to do that. So he said, yeah, I'll do it. Then he said, you go out. So we were like, he said he'll do it and we have to go out now. So then he says, you go out and come back. Afterwards, right now is not a good time to do it. I'll call you back. So we didn't know whether he was going to call us immediately or afterwards. So we are not prepared in any ways for any of these ceremonies. So my mother and aunt, they rushed outside, they got some things from the... my mother asked Swami, should we get some flowers? No, everything I will do, he said. So they were like, but still, we are human beings. We always tend to have this, some kind of this thing that we should get something on our own and offer it. And what happened was, we went out, some silk dhoti my mother got from some shop, and my auntie was also, they also got some things, and immediately after half an hour, Swami called us inside, exclusively us only, nobody else. And we were like, I went inside, my father was there, my sisters, all of us were there, my aunt, grandparents. You know what happened? In one day, in that span of 15-20 minutes, Swami performed a person's, main life events. He had called one parent in a small cave. He called the parent. He named the child. He pierced the ears. Okay. Then he did my Upanayanam, and immediately after that, he performed the marriage. In a short span, one day, 15-20 minutes, he has done all these things. So when my father was a very big cigarette smoker, chain smoker, and he used to smoke the unfiltered ones, almost 40-50 cigarettes a day. That was his thing. So when he came to me, he looked at me, he said, he created the thread, and he said, you know, your father chants Gayatri Mantra, but he likes the other agarbatti. So I didn't understand, Swami was telling that I was too small to understand what means he was joking in that sense. So Swami pointed out how this is the agarbatti. He says Gayatri Mantra, you do it on my photo. And when he does that, all the effect of the mantras go out. Don't be like your father. Don't be like your father. So this I remember very clearly because I was so short and Swami bent down like that and he was talking to me. And then he said, he told my mother, he took out the thread, created the thread and opened it. Oh, this is too big. No, all the drama Swami does with all of us. Okay, he is very good at dramatizing things. This is too big. And don't worry, I'll make it small, he said. And he folded it and he put it on me. And he said, your father will not tell the mantra, I will tell the mantra to you. I am not, see, this is not about Niranjana. It's about His grace, His blessings, His compassion. Niranjan is only a nimitta matram here. I am telling this not because I want to feel that I am very important. I am not at all important here. Whenever we speak, I think that God is the most important that we should look at. And what is He doing to us? And then he gave me the Gayatri Mantra. Then he said, he didn't tell me to do Sandhya Vandanam and all those things. He said, what you do? When you take bath, you chant Gayatri Mantra. When you have food, you chant Gayatri Mantra. When you are sleeping, you chant Gayatri Mantra. When you get up, chant Gayatri Mantra. That's what he told me. And then he performed my aunt's wedding. He created a Lakshmi Mangal Sutra for her and he gave a sari. And he performed the marriage in the hall. Then afterwards they went to Mumbai and then performed the marriage separately. But that day was a turning point in my life. Because, for God to do that to a human being, we don't know whether I deserved or didn't deserve that. But He was so compassionate to do that to me. So I feel blessed that He blessed me with this opportunity. Why I am sharing this? Because all of us today, since His presence, physical presence is not
Go
there,
straight.
we feel the emptiness. And we are always, Swami has left and gone and we are still waiting. But then over a period of last few years, I have realized. Because when I left also, 1986, I left Puttaparthi after taking Swami's permission. And Swami said, wherever you go, I will be there with you all the time. Wherever you go. And after Swami left his physical form, I was not lost. Because for me, I always felt that He is my Lord, He is always with me. We need to look for Him inside us. We should not look for Him outside of us. So, I am sharing this because the seed which He planted with the Gayatri Mantra in my mind is actually carrying me today. And each one of us who is here will be having so many things, so many experiences within themselves. Instead of looking outside for Swami, we should start looking inside. And that's how I got into Seva activities. Now, Ajit sir spoke about the medical camp and the Samarpan Seva and the super specialty Seva that we do as alumni. We have decided, post Swami's leaving the physical form, that we will be His silent workers. SAI, in brackets, lent His workers. Sai, lent His workers. That's what we want to be now. We don't want a name, we don't want a position, we don't want it. Just like we talk about Ramas, Vanaras, you might be not up to that level. You might be some very low level today, but we aspire to be silent workers. And that's how we conduct sevas. Whatever seva we do is with one prayer to Him. Bless us with such opportunities again and again. And I will just share a few, because the time is also limited. I don't want to take too much of time. I will share some of the experiences of the medical camp, of the Samarpan, and the super seva that we do, super specialty seva we do. For me, personally, I don't believe that I am a devotee of God or Swami. I believe I am a believer in God, because the designation of a devotee is so big. I don't know whether I am even in the first step of that becoming a devotee. So for me to call myself a devotee will be a wrong thing. That only God can give us as and when, I don't know, this life or how many lives we take to reach that level. So I will just share some experiences. This medical camp was started 26 years back. And it was started by two brothers who were in Shivaji Nagar bus stop, and they were standing there and they said, we should do something. So what we should do? They are going in the bus. So they said, what should we do? They started thinking and said, let's give medicines to village people. That's how the medical camp started. And for 2 years, they used to go to houses nearby there. They used to stay in Kaluguri and some other place. So they used to go to the nearby places and then go and ask people, okay, do you have fever, do you have cold or something like that? And they'll buy medicines from their own pocket and give it to them. Then they saw that the number of people who are requiring that has increased. Now what to do? Now you cannot stop it. See, one thing with the Swami's activities, once you start, you should not stop it, because so many people get affected. So then they decided to buy a cycle. Two of them, one guy carrying a bag of medicines, general medicines, not this thing, and based on the prescriptions given by the local doctors, they used to go and give the medicines. That's how the medical camp started. Nobody knew that we'll reach a level where we have completed 26 years of camp without a single Sunday being missed. People who come there, now of course we are doing it inside Vrindavan, and there are some doctors associated with this camp for last 20 years, 22 years. And 2 years back, one day what happened, we used to have a lot of problems, as usual. Finance is a problem, human resources is a problem, medicines is a problem, all these problems were arising. And two of us, one very junior brother and myself, after the camp was over, we said, come on, let's stop it now. We should not conduct this camp because it's so tough to get everything. We have to organize it, we have to get the money, we have to get the, we give Narayan Seva also on that day. So we are thinking, why should we do it now? Anyway, there's no point in doing this. We are struggling with so many things. And two of us only were there in front of the second hostel in Vrindavan. And suddenly one lady comes. She's a well-built lady. You must be in the 40s or 50s with specs, and she's wearing a dress. We are talking softly, we are not even talking loudly to each one of us. Both of us are talking to each other. Suddenly he comes and says, she does her finger like this. You continue to do the good work that you are doing. Don't look at any other things. When she said that, we were like shocked. Who is this lady and why she's telling you this? Because we never discuss with anybody. Only two of us are discussing. So both of us looked at each other, but we didn't say anything. We just listened. Don't stop this work. This is the good work you are doing. Don't stop despite anything that is happening around you. So, and she went off. We were surprised because we didn't know that lady, and suddenly she comes and talks to us like this. And then both of us looked at each other after she went and said, Swami is told, you shut up, you are not to decide whether this camp goes on or not. I have to decide. So that's one lesson we learned, that what seva you do with his name. You will never have any problems, and post that we have stopped talking of any of these things. Resources come, devotees come, finance comes, medicines comes, everything keeps on coming. And we have decided we'll be just enablers and facilitators over there who are just trying to help people in whatever small way we can. This is about the medical camp. Coming to Samarpan. Post Swami leaving his physical form. Immediately after that, Swami left his video in April. May we had a meeting in Vrindavan. All of a sudden, we went, we said we should do something now. Because there's a huge gap within us that Swami is physically not there. How do we relate to him and how do we keep the connect with him? So all of us, we had almost a full day session. We were brainstorming on what to do and what not to do. Some of us decided, okay, let's do one thing. We will start talking about Swami, experiences of Swami. And we will let it be, we'll take permissions from the authorities locally and we'll do it in Vrindavan. So the idea was good, then we put across a template and we shared with the authorities and we decided to start Samarpan. Now, Samarpan when we started, we never knew how long we were going to continue. One thing today we realize is whatever we start, it should be sustainable and the commitment from our side should be there all the time. We cannot start and say today my mood is not there, I am not going to go to Samarpan. So those kind of things, as alumni, we don't want to do. That because his blessings that we studied in his college and what we got. So again, 1 year back, we were again, two of us, after the guest had come and guest speaker was speaking, we never go out when we from the Ramesh Hall, but we decided to have a coffee. So we went to the kiosk behind and we were having the coffee. And then I was telling it's very difficult to get speakers, very difficult to get people to come and talk over here, and we were talking like that. Suddenly, and that's the time when the authorities decided to allow the devotees to go inside Vrindavan for Trai Parikrama. That was the time, that was the month actually. And so both of us were talking, and we decided, let's stop Samarpan. Our monkey mind, foolish mind, we keep on thinking that we are doing it. At the end of the day, he teaches us a lesson and he says, you are not doing it, I am getting it done from you. So, one person comes, he talks in Hindi and he says, sir, हमको अंदर जाना है. So I said, हाँ, we asked to announce that from that day onwards, people can go inside the train for Parikrama. So we confidently told, after the Samarpan talk is over, you can go inside. And then he comes and says, he suddenly comes back again to us and he says, sir, 2011 में मई महीने में हम लोग यहाँ थे, मैं और मेरी मिसेस यहाँ पे आए थे और हमने जाके उस गेट पे माथा टेका था. I had poured at the feet at the gate and prayed to God that so many years we don't have a child. If we get a child, we will come and lay the child at your feet. And suddenly we saw a child running around, around 4-5 years old child running around. And he says, that's the child, and that's my wife. Again, a message to us that don't try to stop anything. You are thinking Samarpan is for somebody to listen, somebody to talk, so many things are happening on the side which you don't know. And at the end of that, both of us again looked at each other. I said, no more talk on this. Anything that we start will not stop. Whatever happens, whoever comes, whoever does not come, we will definitely be there. That is our commitment to ourselves and commitment to Swami. We are not going to stop any activity that we start. So whenever we start something, we do it with a thought that this is not going to stop for any time in future. And our commitment to Swami is that much. We don't want to be known as Niranjan alumni or something like that. We want to know, be known as his workers, silent workers, work silently and do your work. Now, I don't know how much time is left.
Plenty.
Plenty.
Plenty. You go on.
Okay. Huh? Yeah, some water. It's here. I tell you my story of Bhajan Singh. This is more interesting. I am jumping from one topic to another because as the thought flows, I am talking. I don't want to, methodical talking of this way and that way. We were in Calcutta. I finished my schooling in Calcutta. And my mother wanted me to join Swami's College, Vrindavan. The time Vrindavan was there. That was 1977. And as usual, when you are exposed to a city life, you are exposed to every kind of other things which are not important. But you get carried along with those kind of thoughts. So after I finished my 10th, my mother said, we'll go to Vrindavan. I said, I don't want to go to Vrindavan, all these restrictions in the hostel. I had heard about it. So I said, no, I'm not going to go there. So my mother said nothing. She forcibly took me to Vrindavan. And I was a very average student. Okay, and I got around 49-50% in my 10th standard. So I was very confident that any college that gives me seat is not going to look at me second time. First time also they will look at me. So I went there and we went to Vrindavan. And the admissions were going on. That time the admissions were different, not the current you have the examination, written examination, interview and all. It was purely based on the parents and the child. And when we went there, the warden and the deputy warden, they were the first one to interview us. So they looked at my marks card and 49%, 49.7%, which stream you want to go. So my mother said you should take BSc. I was not sure what I want to take. First of all, I didn't want to join them. So I didn't say anything. My mother said you take BSc. So I know what kind of student I am, so I didn't want to comment in front of the warden and all. I just kept quiet. And then the warden said, BSc you cannot get. So I said, very good. No seat is coming. I won't get a seat over here. So I said, very good in my mind. I said, I didn't tell it to my mother. I said, very good. And then my mother said, why didn't you say anything? I just kept quiet because I didn't want to argue with my mother. So then after 2 days, they said, no, since your marks are very low, you're not getting a seat. So I was very happy. We went back to Calcutta. I joined the 11th class in some other college in Calcutta. And I was enjoying. That changed me again. What happened was, from the time I left Vrindavan, I had the gnawing feeling inside me that I want to join Vrindavan. That's the change which happened, And next one, my mother still said, even if you lose 1 year, you have to join Vrindavan. Next year you'll go back. But at that time I was more open, open to joining Swami's institution. Again, his will has to be there for us to be there. Okay, at the end of the day, that is what it makes sense. So his will is something which has to work in our life. Nothing else works in our life. So we went back there, and this time I was very sure I didn't want to take science. I didn't want to take commerce. It was too much of brain work. I said I'll take arts. So when the warden and principal asked me, I said I want arts. So they were very happy. They don't have to look at my marks. It was just admission. And then I joined them. What happened? Because I stayed with my parents full life. When I went to the hostel, I was a very withdrawn person kind of thing. I was not open. Even though I was a school captain in the school, when I was in the school, and all those things. I participated in dramas and all those things. But then, I don't know, when I went to the hostel, I became a very introverted guy, quiet friend. And when I went, I didn't know what to expect. First time in my life, away from parents, and suddenly a completely different kind of life. You get up at 4:30, do Suprabhatam, Omkaram Suprabhatam, and all those, completely different life, fully regulated. But somehow, since I had made up my mind to be there, I think Swami gave me the strength to initial stages. He gave me the strength to undergo whatever challenges I was facing. And then after the first year, PUC was over, I was better in the college than in the school. So I started getting 65% or so. So I was happy. Parents were happy because this guy is not failing. He is getting a first class. For them that was more than enough. So first year over, second year over, and I went to degree. Swami used to never speak to me much. So I used to feel bad. What is this, Swami? You're talking to so many guys and not talking to me. I used to feel bad. So then I decided on a plan, The plan is you become a bhajan singer, you can be in front of Swami. I didn't know singing, I didn't know tabla. But I decided that I want to be a singer. So what I used to do, all these, Sonam, Kote and all of my classmates, and we were all classmates, so they used to sing bhajans very well. Swami used to enjoy their bhajans. So what I used to do was, whenever they have a music practice or any programs, I used to go and sit behind them. I used to say, I sing chorus. That's the way, you have to enter somewhere. I don't know from where I got that strength to go and tell them that I want to sing chorus. And they allowed, okay, somebody is coming, and then I used to play talam a little bit. On the side, whatever side roles I had, I used to do that so that I am in the group. That was very important because I had to go in front of Swami. That's the main aim. So I used to do this on the sides, and people started recognizing me. Okay, Niranjan is a part of the music group. So I said, fine. Then what happened? I used to sing with them all the time. So suddenly, one day I decided I want to sing alone. So they said, Niranjan, there is a big process. First you have to sing in the hostel, then in the college, and then we have to ask Swami's permission for you to sing in front of him. So that was the process. So first I said, okay, hostel singing doesn't matter. I will sing on small. Today also I sang small versions only. So I always enjoy the small versions. So Swami used to tell me, always, Mandir used to tell us, always sing Namavalis. Give energy to people. The bhajan should be fast and it should give energy to people. Taking the name of the God should be energizing you. So that's what he used to tell us. So I started singing in hostel. Then slowly that transition happened to college. I started singing in college. Then what happened was, any kind of special effect in the music program, I used to give on the sides. They used to say, Niranjan, you are here, we are with us for so long, you can start playing. In my first year degree was over, and second year first year the exams were over, and I never used to go home. 5 years I stayed in Vrindavan. Once only for 10 days I went for my uncle's wedding. I was feeling so miserable because that time Swami used to be in Vrindavan for such a long period of time. He used to come only during big festivals to Puttaparthi, other times he was in Vrindavan.